Hello, welcome to this session looking at a particular aspect of Patronum. This time we're going to be looking at the drives menu item on the left hand side here. So I'm going to click into Drive and show that first of all. These sessions are designed to be just small bite-sized bits of information so that if you need to refer back to it at any point in the future, you can find this video, just play back this one that you're interested in. If you just want to focus on the drive component, this is the video for you. Rather than make it a very long, complex video covering all aspects, these kind of smaller, more focused sessions should be quite useful. As with other sessions of this type, I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail, but I'm going to highlight the important features and show you where the benefits and why you would want to use them. So we've landed here in the drive section, and this is where we can take a look at what shared drives, what file shares are being thrown around our organization, and from a sort of a compliance point of view, understand whether we're exposed in any way. So first of all, the tabs across the top here, we're on the shared drives view, and as you would imagine, we get a list of the shared drives we've got in our organization here, and I can scroll through them. And from here, I can right-click actually on any of these shared drives and get to the option to add and manage the member access. So when clicking on that, it'll show me who's got access to this shared drive, what level of access they've got, and I can add more people in here or remove the people who've already got, change their level of access, and so on. So similar to the kind of things you can do through the admin console, but doing it here in Patronum alongside of all the other functionality. We've got a filter option up at the top here to allow us to shrink down the list to only show the shared drives that we're particularly interested in. So when I click on the filter view, you can see what we're looking at here. One that's particularly useful here is the drive type, because that allows me then to choose between internal and external drives. So by changing that to external, what this is now going to show me are the shared drives that are owned by other organizations but are shared into my organization. And that's an important view because that allows me to see what information my users are being exposed to from outside of my organization. And then I could also do something about that if I need to. So this is now a filtered list showing me only external shared drives, and I could click into here and see what content is coming from that shared drive and see various folders and things in here. And I could expand these folders to see what files are in there as well. And using the various options here or the overflow menu, I can take action on those files. I can do the same kind of thing from a right click, using the right click mouse button, or two-finger click on a Chromebook or a trackpad, that way. Okay, so that's the external view. Other filters that are quite useful here are being able to identify any shared drives that don't have any members or don't have any managers. So first of all, let's have a look at shared drives with no members. Okay, so this is showing me drives that may have been created in the past and then completely forgotten about and they're not used. So that's a good view for me to maybe go ahead and do a bit of a cleanup afterwards. This also might be, though, that not having any members is one thing, but not having any managers as well, then it's completely a useless drive, not being used by anybody. So one thing that's not immediately obvious is this filter view here. If I click alongside of it, I'm allowed to add another filter. So I could also say no managers, and that's now doing a combined filter view showing me drives without any members or any managers. So something to bear in mind that you can build up these filters by clicking alongside here and adding more filters if you need to. Okay, so that's the filter view here. So that's your shared drives. If we move along the tabs here, we come to the file sharing view. Now what this is going to show me is a table listing out all of the people that I'm aware of and how many files they've got access to at different share types. So how many they are an owner of, how many they've got write access to, read access to, and comment access to, and then a total sum at the end of it. So again, this is a nice view to give you a sense of who are your heavy duty users, who's using the most. If you see a large number of files here, maybe it's something that is worth investigating. If it wasn't a large number yesterday and now it's a huge number today, maybe that indicates that somebody's been had too much stuff shared to them, or they've suddenly decided to share to gain access to a lot of files. Once again, we've got a filter view here with many more options in it now. One of the things that's particularly useful here, I think, is this personal option, because what that's showing me is any files that are shared with personal gmail.com email addresses. So you can see here the domain is gmail.com. So this allows you to maybe focus in on anybody that's maybe sharing with personal addresses, whereas you really want them to be sharing with business addresses. It might indicate that somebody is sharing something to their personal account at home. Maybe they're trying to exfiltrate some of your information. Who knows? But it's a good view to get a look at all of that. The other thing that's quite useful, I think, is you can get maybe a view of anything that is shared with the link. Because as we know, if you're not sharing files explicitly with a named individual, if you're just sharing it through the link, then there's a potential for that link to get spread around, and then more people than you expect have got access to that data. So this would give you a view of anything that's shared with content by the link. When you click on it, sorry, what I should have explained here is the first option is anybody internally who's got the link, okay? So anybody within your organization, and the second view is anybody on the entire internet that's got access to your information. So the first one, click on it and it'll show you a list of those files, and you can take some action if you need to. The second one, I would argue, is probably the more important one, because this is now going to show you any files that are in your environment, in your drive, but are actually accessible to anybody out there on the internet if they've got knowledge of the link. And so maybe you want to unshare all of these. So you could select them all in bulk and click the unshare button, or you can do it on an individual basis. You've got the right-click option on each of these, or the overflow menu over here, to change the settings should you need to. Now I can see from these are probably social media icons that we would use in our email signatures. So I'm fairly happy that those are things that should be publicly accessible on the internet. Not too worried about that at all, so I'm okay with that. Okay. The other thing that's useful here, again, is the external view. If we change this filter to show us external users, you can see these are all external users outside of my organization, but it's showing me what files that they might have access to. So I would be able to click on one of these users and it'll give me a list of the files and folders that they've got access to from my environment. And again, I can take some action on that if I think that's inappropriate. Okay. So that's the file sharing tab, really pretty useful. Actually, I should also point out we've got some upload download buttons here. Sometimes you're going to get a lot of files in these lists, and you might want to do some analysis separately. So you've got a button over here where you can download and export these lists in a CSV format, which you can then pull into a spreadsheet application and do more manipulation and create some analysis and so on. You've also then got the ability to import it back in again if you were to make some changes, and that will implement those changes for you. And the padlock on the right-hand side is just a very quick, boom, I want to unshare all of these files. So rather than open up the view and then have to select lots of files individually and so on, if you see an immediate situation where you say, hang on, that external person should not have access to any of our stuff, I can immediately click the boom padlock icon and remove them in one hit. Okay, that's your file sharing tab. Next along is the search tab. So this one allows us to find any files anywhere in our environment, whether they're in shared drives or whether they're in individual users' own My Drive areas, using the same kind of filter view along here. So if I know the name or part of the name of a file, I could type it in here. I don't know if we've got anything that might have the word secret in the title, but let's see. And I'd be able to, no, we don't, thankfully. I'd be able to find a file by its name there, or if I know the ID, ownership, all the rest of it, they're all in here that I can locate them, including things such as orphan files. Now, orphan files are something that is kind of peculiar to Google Drive, because you can have a situation where one person owns a folder and another person owns the files within that folder, and then person A removes the folder and those files are now orphaned. They don't have a home that they live in anymore. So it's very difficult to find those files just by navigating your way down the folder structure in a drive. The only way you would find them is through some kind of a search. So by using this orphan files view, we can identify any files that are in that kind of a situation, allowing you to grab hold of them and maybe allocate them to a different parent folder so they're no longer orphaned. So it's quite a nice, useful sort of tidy up exercise to go through once in a while. Again, you can see anything that's got particular labels on it. If you're using labels as a information classification method, that's particularly useful. You can then identify any items, any documents, spreadsheets, and what have you that might have your confidential label on or anything like that. I particularly like the file type option, because quite often you'll find people are storing all kinds of things in your drive and using your drive space, and perhaps you don't want them to. So photos and images are something that's particularly common for people to dump lots and lots of photos and things in your drive and use up lots of space. So maybe I could find them using that option. Or the other way of looking for large files is I've got file size here. So I could maybe look for anything that's over a certain size. I'm going to say anything that's over 100 megabytes. Let's have a look and see if we've got anything that large in here. There we go. We do. We have a few files over 100 megs. So if I want to do some size management, I can find those that way and tidy them up, or maybe have a word with the owner of those files and see what they're going to do about it. So lots and lots of useful ways of filtering down what you're looking at in your drive here across the entire organization. And then once you've found the files, you've got the options to manipulate them in many different ways. And once again, you've got multiple filters that you can put on here. So if I'm looking for size files over 100 megabytes with a particular owner, then I can filter the view that way. Okay, there we go. That's just the one file that's owned by somebody called Stuart. Don't know who that might be. That's over 100 meg. Okay, and then lastly, in this brief walkthrough of the drives view in Patronum is the compliance tab. Now, this shows up when you're using Patronum Plus. Patronum Plus gives you the ability to create policies and to put controls around your drive rather than only around your users. Okay, so the basic version of Patronum allows you to create policies to manipulate users for onboarding, offboarding, managing email signatures and all that kind of good stuff. Patronum Plus allows you to go a step further and create policies that are triggered by drive content. So our compliance view here allows us to see which files and have been caught up in one of our Patronum Plus policies. So any policy that is using drive items as a trigger, this is where we can see anything that's caught up in that. So it might be that we have a policy that says anything that is shared with an external user, a personal Gmail user, we want to flag that in some way, or we want to change the permissions, or we want to do something about those kind of files. And we're doing that through a policy. If you don't know what policies are, please refer to some of our other videos. We've done lots of videos on policies, so that will help you out. If we've got a policy that's identifying these personally owned or files that are shared with a personal account, then it's going to show up in here in this compliance view. And again, I've got the option to download these files as a CSV, so I can then do further manipulation, or actually secure it by removing it basically from that sharing setting. I would argue that really what you ought to be doing is your policy ought to be doing the tidying up for you, so it's automatically taking care of things like either alerting the user that they've shared something with a personal Gmail account, and that's really against your policy, so they shouldn't do that. You can send them an email automatically to tidy it up. And this compliance view here is really you as an administrator just getting an extra high-level view of any files that are being swept up by your compliance policies. Okay, so once again, a very sort of rapid walkthrough of the Drive view. These sessions are really focusing on the things that you can do with Patronum in more of a day-to-day ad hoc management kind of process, rather than creating policies that sit there and automatically keep things ticking over for you. So I hope you found that useful. If you've got any questions, of course, you can reach out to us using the chat functions, and we'll do our best to respond. Okay, thanks a lot.